You're listening to the Kobi Simmat Audio Experience. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kobi Simmat. I want to welcome everybody. In this episode, we're going to help you smash your goals in 2021 with some really simple tips and tricks that I think people kind of forget, that there are some business basics to goals or some life basics to goals. So I'm going to talk through a couple of categories. I'm going to talk to you about how to reach those goals, how to kind of set those goals, and how to think really big. And thinking big is going to drag you up. So if you're somebody who wants to achieve your goals this year, if you're somebody who knows you're destined for something bigger, you've been thinking about it and you're looking for some inspiration and motivation, this is the episode for you. Okay, let's get into it. I was actually in a conversation earlier this week with a very good friend of mine, and he kind of called me up. It was late one evening and we've been playing phone tag all day, and we finally got onto the phone to each other sort of in the early evening after a big day, and he was kind of just hitting me with some questions. He's had a proposal from a company to come in and do some sales training, and I was kind of like, well, let's talk about your goals. And he's like, I don't know if this proposal's worth accepting, and they're going to help our business and they're coming in to pitch and do some selling. The guy's got an eight-figure business. Like he's successful and he's doing really well. He wants to take it to the next level in 2021, 22. Here in Australia, we're starting to do our budgets. And I thought back over that conversation, and there was a couple of key points that, he was kind of a little bit frustrated and, knowing that he could do more and kind of looking for some information and some clarity. And with this proposal, or with this kind of, extensive framework that had been put in front of him, I think he was kind of balking at the amount of effort that he was going to need to put in with this particular person to achieve some goals. So I talked through a couple of key elements, and that prompted me to record this episode for you guys to give you some of the really basic stuff around kind of setting and achieving goals, thinking about what goals are. I've got to admit, I have struggled through 2020 and 2021 with some of my areas of goals. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of go back and revisit the categories of goals and where we can set them, and also, kind of what we need to do to achieve those goals. Because sometimes you sort of think, you might think to yourself when you hear people, I'm going to do all these amazing things in my life. But, we've got to ask the question, what are we going to say no to? To do more and to achieve more, you do actually need to say no to some things. And I think that's one of the biggest things that gets missed with goal setting and the people that we talk to is, what are you actually saying no to? What are we actually going to take out of our life? For me, I'll just give you one simple one. I want to spend more time with my family. To spend more time with my family, I needed to stop mowing the lawn. I needed to stop doing the gardening. Now, I love doing the gardening, but that's kind of by myself. It's a solo activity. I don't get a lot of help from the family. In fact, my wife is allergic to grass. So, we basically got a gardener, and that gardener comes in once a week on a Thursday or a Friday, and he does all of our lawns and all of our gardens, makes everything look great for the weekend. So I basically pay him to give me back time, and then I give that time to the family. And so if you're somebody who wants to, have more quality time with, important people in your life, then it might mean that you need to say no to some things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you got to say no to your friends. In this instance, I said no to gardening, even though I do enjoy it. And you might need to say no to some things that you enjoy to say yes to some things that you really, really enjoy, if that makes sense. So I think you've got to start with, what do you want? What do you want more of? So I'm going to give you some categories, and I thought that was a great place to start in this particular episode with some categories. So let's talk about categories quickly. Categories for goals. A lot of people jump straight into finances. I've got some money-making goals. I've got some financial goals. There's a particular number. So I think a lot of people say, I say, what's your financial goals? And they'll say, I want to make a lot of money. Well, what about if we set ourselves a goal of, what exact bank balance would you like to have? What exact net value of assets would you like to have? There's two guys here in the studio with me right now, and they've been talking lots about getting into investment, and they're just starting their careers. That's a good question for you guys. The question is, what would be a net value of assets that you would like to have? What's, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, pick a number. And we kind of go, I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to buy something that's going to go up in value. That's an investment. I'm going to buy something that's going to give me cash flow. That's an investment. But we often don't ask ourselves the question, what's our number? Now, I have a number in my head that I use, and I have it written down in some secret places, which is my net asset goal that I'm working towards, that I'm trying to get to. And then I have investments. And when I buy an investment, whether it's a stock or a trade or a cryptocurrency or an old car or an old boat, I have an exit price in mind. When I buy it, before I buy it, I actually set my goal of a price to sell it. And a lot of people, one of the biggest mistakes you can make in investing, and we do that when we begin, is we buy something, but we don't actually have the sale price. We just want to make money. But you actually got to set yourself a goal. So when you go on a journey, if you go on a holiday, you set a destination to go to. Some people go on the journey just for the journey. Like they'll just get on a motorbike or in a car and do a road trip and kind of end up where they end up. That can be a lot of fun, but it can also be it can be very frustrating. So for me, we can start with finances. So my question to you is, in thinking about the next 12 months, what bank balance would you like to have? And then what asset valuation would you like to have for assets that you've got? So that's the first one. Let's get into some other categories. Friends and family, they come up quite often, or partner and love. So a couple more categories is, in thinking about a significant relationship, we are energetic beings, being humans, and a loving species and an energetic species. What does that look like? Maybe your goal for 12 months from now could be, I feel a consistent, deep, trusting, appreciative, soulful, loving connection with my significant other. Now I'm reading this from a great book by Brendon Burchard, The High Performance Habits, because it gives me a lot of inspiration in terms of actually breaking down categories for goals. So if you do want a book recommendation, I recommend High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. So you can see finances, we can see partner and love, we can see family. I'm present with my family. That was one of my goals. I'm creating deep connection and fun and positive energy with the family members. I went to sushi last night with my 10-year-old son. That's what we do on Wednesday nights. We go to the sushi train. He didn't like the sushi train we went to last night because we picked a new one. We're doing a bit of a sushi train crawl, trying different ones. And the one last night didn't sell schnitzel. Now, schnitzel's not really Japanese food, but they do put schnitzel inside rice rolls for little kids. And so we got to go back and find the one that sells schnitzel. So, but it was good fun, and then I bribed him with peppermint ice cream at the end of the sushi. So, that's part of one of the little activities. One of our goals is, walk to school. I try to walk to school with my son once a week, and we go out to sushi, just the two of us on a Wednesday night. So it's something for him to look forward to. Anticipation is a really addictive emotion. And if you can help your family to have anticipation for great activities, you're going to create a positive vibe. So setting a plan for some family goals and setting a plan for some goals with your friends, you're going to have anticipation. That's really positive. And you're going to live with that kind of positive emotion because your mind will be thinking about that really exciting thing that's coming up in the future. So we've talked about finances, we've talked about partner and love, we've talked about family, we've talked about friends. Those are categories. Couple more. I think we can't have a session on goals without talking about health and fitness. So we can talk about, what are your fitness goals? What are your health goals? For me, I go on a 10-kilometer walk almost every morning. It's not every morning, but almost every morning. We recently posted a video of me walking in the rain. Rain, hail, or shine, I go for that walk. I've recently been thinking about I probably should run. Maybe I could start running. I used to do a lot of running in my 20s. I could probably actually run. So I ran for a bit of that walk this morning before recording this episode. So the dog enjoyed it. Take the dog some mornings, and the dog enjoyed running this morning, and that was quite interesting. So, for me, it's about, I can do my 10-kilometer walk in about an hour and 45 minutes. Maybe I could build up to running it in an hour, about 10 kilometers in an hour. So, for health, your statement could be something like, I regularly take care of myself so that I feel my best. I want my overall physical and emotional health, my well-being, to be primed and optimized to make me feel energetic and strong each day. I can honestly say to you that I can tell the difference with the different ingredients I eat as to how I feel and how I perform with my team and how I perform with my family and how I think and how I feel. So the ingredients we eat are really important. It's really important to be a little bit more conscious than maybe you have been about choosing ingredients to help you feel good and think smart. And they are not necessarily deep fried or chocolate. So it's something to think about, health and our ingredients, and starting to think about, I know with different ingredients, they make me feel differently, they do different things to my body, and actually starting to be a bit more conscious about our decisions. Mental and emotional. I keep a positive outlook and attitude. I'm cultivating a sense of joy and peace in my life so that I can experience positive emotions. I recently stumbled over some research that water actually contains memory. Now, as the human species, I don't know the exact percentage, but we're something like 70% water or 80% water as a human being. Water is all over our planet. We're a wet planet, or the surface of our planet is wet. And I recently saw an experiment where people were basically putting droplets of water on a piece of glass and then looking at it in a microscope. And what they were doing in the scientific study was helping people to experience a significant emotional event, a significantly sad event, and then a significantly happy event, and recall that, and then place the water on the slide, and then let the water dry out, and then let the different mineral crystals in that water make patterns, and then look at it under a microscope. And I will, in another episode, once I've got my handle on that research, talk more about it. But in a nutshell, the water formed different types of crystals based on the emotions of the person dropping the water on the glass plate to go under the microscope before it was dried out. And when someone had a really negative emotional event or recalled a very negative emotional event, the actual crystals that formed from the dried out water were very fractured and disorganized. And then when somebody actually had a loving event or re-experienced a loving event and then dropped the water on the glass plate to let it dry out to become crystals, it made a very beautiful rainbow pattern and a very organized pattern. So what I'm basically saying is your mental and emotional state will rub off on people, and you will either be a battery charger or a battery drainer. I get out of bed every morning thinking about how I can add to people's day, how I can make someone's day more amazing. And the people here in our office and in our team and around me, I often say, how can I make your day more amazing? What can I do for you to make your day more amazing? I recall myself saying it yesterday or the day before to someone here in this office. So my question to you is, I'm cultivating a sense of joy and peace in my life so that I can experience positive emotions. Now, it's not my job here to be a life coach. I just wanted to give you some categories of goals because I'm going to help you work out how to achieve those goals. So let's quickly go through the categories and we'll finish on a really important one. We talked about finances, we talked about family, we talked about friends, we talked about mental and emotional, we talked about partner and love, we talked about putting those things together. I want to finish with a couple here. One is learning. Setting yourself some learning goals. I think that's a really important category. For me, it's just try to read for 1 hour every day. Try to consume knowledge for 1 hour every day. And if you've watched any of our videos, you've seen the enormous library that's behind me. Trying to consume that. Now, yesterday, I watched a movie that's been made of one of the books that's in my library, which I thought was quite interesting. Recently, the book Think and Grow Rich has been made into a movie. I thought it'd be interesting to watch it, so I watched it. Had some great content in it. So if you do see that advertised on social media, please go ahead and watch that if you are listening to that podcast. So that's a movie recommendation for you. I think you need to go to their website, Think and Grow Rich, and it's a great video to watch just to get some insights into thinking and mindset and helping you set goals. I can highly recommend it. If you haven't got that book, Think and Grow Rich, in your library, it's a great resource. People that I've come across that recommend that book recommend reading it every year to keep you on track. So it's about thinking. It's not about growing rich, but it's about thinking and it's about growing rich and having a rich life. And if you can have goals in all of these categories, you will have a rich life. Before we started recording this episode, we were doing some joking in the office and we were doing some calculations. If you live to 85 years old, about 85 years old, so if you kind of, that's your life expectancy, which is the average life expectancy of a human being, 85 years old, you will only have 31,000 days on this planet. You will only have 31,000 days on this planet, so make them count. Make every day count. And Luke, who's sitting here recording this podcast with us in the studio, was just saying, or maybe it was Cam, one of the two of you was saying, if you are working for somebody, if you are selling, you're working for a customer or you're working for a boss, like you're going to be working for one or the other, that's how we all earn our income. I will sell you a day of my life for X amount of dollars. So you kind of want to be doing meaningful work. Don't sit back and let life go by and you want to actually experience life and make life happen. So let's talk about experiences. The goal could be I plan special experiences, I plan trips, adventures, nights out, time to connect, disconnect, so that I enjoy life. I give enough time to the things I love in life, including my hobbies, interests, and my non-work goals and adventures. I've spent too much of my time focusing on work goals and not enough on adventures. I've got a great adventure coming up in a couple of weeks' time where I'm taking a 6-week trip We'll still record some content, produce some content for you guys while we go, some podcasts and some videos. You'll get to see some of that great adventure. But I set that. I gave myself a year's notice and I'm going on this 6-week trip. Do I run a business? Yes. Have I got business freedom? Yes. And if you're somebody who is running a business and listening to this podcast, or you're just listening to the podcast, I can show you how to do that. So if you want to engage with us in some of our programs, I can show you how to build that business freedom. Okay, what have we missed? Spiritual. For different people, this means different things. I had a great conversation with someone, this week about their spiritual goals. And I noticed that when I was talking to them about, what they're doing, and they were saying, look, I'm feeling down. I'm not, I need some energy, pump me back up again. I said, well, my observation is I don't think you're taking your religion seriously at the moment. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I know they are. And I know it's been a significant time of the year for that particular religion, and I won't name the religion right now. But I noticed that maybe they hadn't actually been following that religion, as closely as they'd like to, and they might have been feeling guilty. And when I dug into it, they were feeling guilty, and they were like, you know what, I didn't take it seriously, and I feel bad about that, and that was bringing them down. So I said, well, look, how can we help with that? And so we made some arrangements, and they are one of our team members, and they're going to go off and do some great stuff. For that, they're going to go and, follow some of the principles of their religion a bit more closely, and we've given them work permission to do that. And hopefully that'll lift them up a little bit, because guilt can be dragging them down. So spiritually, what are your spiritual goals? So let me just summarize. I'm going to start at the top of my list and go to the bottom. We did start with finances, but my list here starts with health. So categories for goals, so we can wrap this up. Health, mental and emotional, partner and love, family, friends, experiences, spirit or spiritual, finances, and learning. And the very last one I want to just quickly talk about here is your mission. My mission is to inspire improvement in 100 million companies, and part of that journey is to help your organization and help you enjoy your work, or help your organization to be a great place to work, to help your organization to be a great place to buy from that creates great experiences for your customers. And if you can do that, if you can be a great place to work and create a great buying experience for your customers, it will be a great organization to invest in. It'll be a great investment for the business owners that own your organization, the shareholders, for you, for the different stakeholders involved in the organization. That's my mission. If I can help you be a bit clearer on your goals, and you can figure out how your goals connect to your work that you're doing, then you will enjoy your work more. You will turn up for work smiling. And more importantly, you will then affect your team members, and I will have indirectly inspired improvement in your organization. So if you're listening to this podcast and you can implement some goals, think about a trip you want to go on, get your finances organized, maybe set yourself a health goal, and by default you then start smiling and you go to work smiling, I have inspired improvement in your organization and I've achieved a small part of my mission. So the categories again, if you're taking notes, final time: health, mental and emotional, partner and love, family, friends, mission, experiences, spirit, finances, and learning. So, in thinking about the next 12 months, what does success look like for you in each of those categories? So you can go back, you can rewind the podcast and listen to those categories. In thinking about the next 12 months, what does success look like? So they're the category goals. Now let's talk about my kind of final points in terms of helping you reach those goals. There's a couple of things. Back to this conversation I had with this friend of mine earlier this week, where I was listening and he'd had this proposal and this person was going to come in and do this consulting and help him out. And I said, look, just listening between the lines, I think I need to ask you a question. And I'm going to ask you guys a question right now on this, as you're listening to this episode. My question to you is this. In thinking about the next 12 months, who could you meet? You've thought about them before. Who is it that you would like to meet? And if you met them and spent some time with them, it would be life-changing for you. And if you can, a list of 10 people. And if you can, those people, they might be able to help you with each of those goals. They've achieved those goals. Are there people around you that maybe you know or you don't know or you know of? People that you know of but you've never met them that have achieved that goal that you hope to achieve. Maybe it's a fitness goal, and you go looking for a personal trainer or a mentor or somebody they've been on that journey, they've achieved that goal, and you've seen them achieve that goal. Not someone who just gives advice, but someone who's actually achieved that goal. Don't come to me for health and fitness advice. I'm not that person because I haven't achieved it. Have I had some great achievements in health and fitness in my life and in my career? Absolutely, yes, but I'm not that person. I'm the person to give you business guidance and business advice because I've achieved it. I've built businesses. That's what I do. So, business goals, career goals, that kind of stuff, that's what I do here. I'm that guy. That's who you come to me for if you want my mentoring. But if you could think about those goals, is there somebody, specifically name them, and if you could meet them in the next 12 months, it would be life-changing, write that person's name down right now. So pause the podcast, find a sheet of paper and a pen. If you're driving and listening to the podcast, pull the car over and type into your smartphone on a sticky note that person's name. In the next 12 months, you're a motivated person, you're listening to this podcast, you're able to achieve anything, and I can guarantee if you write that person's name down and you focus on that person and you ask yourself that question, how can I meet that person? How can I get a conversation with that person? Remembering that could be on Zoom or a Google Meet. I can guarantee that you could direct message that person. You could reach out to that person on social media, direct message that person on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. And you could basically empower yourself to meet that person and get some guidance and advice from that person to achieve that goal you want to achieve. It's absolutely possible. I can guarantee it. I've done it. So I want you to think about that. In terms of actually achieving your goals, there's really two questions. One is, who can I get guidance and advice from, and who can I meet that can help me achieve that goal? Because people are there to lift you up. That's what we do as humans. We're very good in humanity at helping each other. And if you can find someone that's achieved a goal and you say, hey, look, I really love the fact that you achieved this particular goal. I watched you do it. I've seen you do it. I've seen the results. I'm in the same position that you were a couple of years ago, and I need some guidance and advice as to the steps to take to achieve that goal. I can just about guarantee that there is not one human on the planet that is going to say no to that question. You can do that. So then the second question is when. The second question is when. Is in thinking about the next 12 months, what does success look like? How can I achieve that goal, and who can help me get there? So you really want to give yourself a deadline. And that's one of the most important things that you can do is give yourself that deadline. And if you give yourself that deadline, in the next 12 months, I'm going to meet this special person, they're going to help me with that particular goal, then I can guarantee that you can get there. So who's going to help you? Henry Ford coined the term mastermind. Now, that mastermind thing's kind of been changed recently in society, but Henry Ford coined the term mastermind. And how did he do that? He had a group of specialist people who were knowledge experts, and he built a tree, and the tree was the mastermind. He connected himself with subject matter experts, people that had walked that pathway, that had experience, that had achieved goals in those areas, and he built this mastermind group of people. And what's happened in modern times in business, that's turned into advisory boards or consultants or, different groups of people. It's literally a mastermind. And so you need to build that mastermind of people around you that are subject matter experts that made mistakes. They've learned the lessons. They've fallen in a ditch in those particular areas of goals in your life. And I want you to think about that. So in thinking about the next 12 months, who is it that I could meet in terms of building my mastermind? Who is it that can help me? And what is the due date? Now, the final question, when we set goals, it's not always about more. It's in saying yes to these things, in saying yes to this, what am I going to say no to? What am I going to get rid of? And back to my gardening analogy, I had to say no to gardening. So I had to say no to mowing the lawn. As much as I love mowing the lawn and doing the gardens and getting out in the garden, I do it less. I might do it, if I get a couple of hours free on a weekday, I might go out in the garden and do a little bit of gardening just because it is a hobby for me. But in terms of actually doing the gardening maintenance and mowing the lawn and collecting the vegetation, and there's lots of palm trees around my house, I've got to cut the dead fronds off the palm trees and put them in the green recycling bin. Greg, my gardener, helps me with that. And Greg's been working for me for 6 years, and Greg gives me, the benefit of Greg is Greg gives me family time. He gives me quality time with my family. So what are you saying no to? What do you need to say no to? When you're saying yes to this and you want to do more, often the blockage You've got 72 20-minute segments in any day. 72 20-minute segments in any day. So of your 31,000 days on this planet, for most of you listening to this podcast, you've probably already done 10,000 of those days. You might have done 8 to 16,000. I've already done 16,000 of my 31,000 days. Like, I'm kind of running out of time to get shit done. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about each day and investing each day to achieve those goals. So I hope this episode's been helpful. I have ranted on a little bit. I think it's been valuable for the two boys listening, helping me record this particular podcast. I hope you've been enjoying the Kobi Simmat Audio Experience. I look forward to bringing you more great content. As always, you can ask me questions. The best place to get me is to direct message me on LinkedIn or direct message me on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, we've got some great content there that's complementary to this topic. My handle is @Kobi Simmat. My LinkedIn handle is @Kobi Simmat. I hope you've been enjoying the Kobi Simmat Audio Experience. It's been fun recording this particular episode, and I will be right back very soon on this platform with more great content. Please go and execute. Take some time right now to go and write goals down in those categories for the next 12 months. If you've already got the goals, think about what you can stop doing so you can start doing more, and more importantly, start making a plan and writing a list of ways that you're going to meet that special person that you wrote their name down in the beginning of this episode. That is going to be a life-changing experience for you. Someone you've always wanted to meet. Start figuring out how to connect with them and follow them on social media and get a direct message to them and make a plan for how you're going to meet that person, because that's going to be a life-changing experience. So go well. I'll see you soon. I'm Kobi Simmat. Bye for now.